This is section 2.3, subtracting real numbers. This is a subtraction rule. To subtract b from a, you must add the opposite of b to a. So in this case, a minus b equals a plus the opposite of b. That's what you're really doing when you're subtracting. You're just adding the opposite of a number. So for example, 14 minus 8 is actually 14 plus the opposite of 8. You should find the difference of the following numbers. Negative 12 minus 19, that's negative 12 plus the opposite of 19, that's negative 31. 18 minus negative 7 is 18 plus the opposite of negative 7, which is 18 plus 7, that's 25. Negative 2 minus 7, you should work on that, and 11.7 minus the opposite of 5. Negative 2 minus 7 is negative 2 plus the opposite of 7, so that would be negative 9. And 11.7 minus a negative 5 is 11.7 plus the opposite of negative 5. A trick I like to use is when you have two negatives together, that they become a positive. So this is actually 11.7 plus 5, or 16.7. Evaluating a variable expression with subtraction. You take an expression given, and then they're going to give you the values for the variables. So in this case, we have a y and an x in the expression. So they give us that x is negative 2 and y is 7.2. So in this expression, y minus x plus 6.8, well, y is 7.2 and x is negative 2. So you substitute those values into the expression. Be very careful, though, when you have a negative, okay? Because you're going to subtract the value of the variable as it's given. And in this case, x is negative 2. So this becomes 7.2 minus negative 2, or positive 2. So it's 7.2 plus positive 2 plus 6.8, and that's 16. In the next case, x minus y plus 2.3, when x equals 8.8 and y equals negative 1.4. Again, we have something tricky here, because when we substitute the 8.8 for x, that's simple. But when you substitute the negative 1.4 for y, you have to make sure that this negative sign stays out in front of the term, okay? Because that's going to become a positive 1.4. And then you add the 2.3 at the end. So this becomes a positive 12.5. Don't drop the negative signs or the opposite signs. They are very, very important. You can evaluate change using subtraction. That's usually what we do. You can find the changes in quantities like temperature or elevation or population. Change is always the new amount minus the old amount. This is really important because you're going to get the wrong answer if you subtract the opposite way. So you always take the amount that's closer to the present minus the old amount or the original amount. Now, if the new amount is greater than the original amount, the change is positive. But if the new amount is less than the original amount, the change is negative. Because remember, you're subtracting new minus old. New minus old. I'll write that down. If you remember no, you'll be okay, because it's new minus old. Now, if you're using your calculator to do these calculations, make sure that you're using the negative in the parentheses key for negative numbers and the minus key for subtraction. They are different. Okay, so take a look at your calculator so you know where both those keys are. So here's a word problem on evaluating change. One of the most extreme temperature changes in the United States occurred in Fairfield, Montana on December 24, 1924. At noon, the temperature was 63 degrees Fahrenheit, but by midnight, the temperature fell to negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit. what was the change in temperature? Right? So to calculate it, think of it this way. C, the change in temperature, is the new temperature minus the old temperature. In this case, it's the difference between the temperature at midnight and the temperature at noon. So midnight minus noon. I used M for the midnight temperature and N for the noon temperature. So I get negative 21, the midnight temperature, minus 63 degrees. So the change was negative 84 degrees. When the change is negative, that means the amount fell from the original to the new. Remember the definition on the previous page? If the new amount is less than the original amount, your answer will be negative. Well, that's what we have here. So the temperature is less currently than it was at 63 degrees. Okay, so use your logical brain here to make sure you have the correct answer.